This video series is Integrated Financial Planning, Developing Effective Financial Plans, and we're looking at financial planning frameworks and processes. And the topic for this video is the financial planning area of insurance and risk management. I always like to start these videos with just a bit of a brief overview and review. So here we are. The topic for today's video is insurance and risk management. We're covering the 6 financial planning components through this series of videos. Previous videos on financial management, investment planning. Again, we're just going through sort of the structure, the processes. And for each of the 6 financial planning components, recall, is going through a collection phase, an analysis phase, and recommendation. So in the collection phase, we're gathering and preparing quantitative information. We gather qualitative information, move into the analysis. We assess the client situation, consider and evaluate strategies. And then in the recommendation section, we're going to develop recommendations to help optimize the client situation. Okay, before we get into the content for the video, I just want to tell a quick little story. I like to remind my students that whether you're studying for the CFP or whatever, education is going to be ongoing. So even if you're CFP certified, if you want to sell insurance in the province of Ontario in Canada, you need to become insurance licensed, which means that you need to do the Canadian insurance course. You can see the full LLQP course, and that's offered by the Canadian Securities Institute. And once you've passed that test, you can then apply and become registered. So you can see here, and this is a real part of the story. You got to check the date here. I completed that on March 28th, 2008. Okay, so it was 2008 in March. And you can see then I became licensed Edward Ted Frederick Stevenson with RBC, okay? And so just to add to the story a little bit, I was a finance director in Asia for SAP from 2002 to 2007, came back to Canada. So you can see at the beginning of January 2008, joined RBC Dominion Securities, try to get into the wealth management industry. So I had to redo the Canadian Securities course. I first did that back in 89 or 90. They still had my original student number. Anyhow, so you can see beginning of January, do the Canadian Securities course. Next thing that you need to do to get licensed is the Conduct and Practices Handbook course. So you can see I passed that in February 15th, 2008. That's another course that I also did back in 89 or 90. I was a registered representative for TD Greenline Investor Services at the time. Okay. Then you can see, I did the insurance course. That was in March. Carrying on. Finally, in April of 2008, I did the options licensing course. So now, CSE is the course that you start with to become registered. You got to do the CPH, Conduct and Practices Handbook. Now you're licensed to trade stocks, bonds, mutual funds, etc. But I actually even went ahead and did the options licensing course so I could do some covered calls. Anyhow, what happened is that if we start looking at this chart for the S&P 500, it's courtesy of the JP Morgan Guide to the Markets, which is a document that I really like to use. We can see, let's find 2008 on the chart. Well, we can see here October 9th, 2007, the S&P 500 is at kind of a high point at that point of 1,565. So if that's October, we went, the beginning of January 2008 is about there. So you can see that's when I did my Canadian Securities course. That's when I did my CPH. This is when I did the insurance course. This is when I did the options licensing course. And indeed, this is where my career with RBC Dominion Securities in Barrie kind of came to a conclusion because the economy wasn't so good. But what was happening is I taught the entire CFP course at night at Georgian College in their continuing education. I wrote the exam with my students and then moved on to become assistant professor type thing after that. Okay, getting back on track on the content here, but there was kind of the reason why I told that story about, CSC and the CPH gets you licensed, to sell investments. So if you're a financial planner and you want to perhaps receive fee-based compensation for assets under management, so you're giving advice with regards to the asset, investment and asset management, then you need to get licensed, and you're the investment advisor. Again, if you want to sell insurance, then you have to get licensed. You have to do that insurance course, and you'll have the relationship with the insurance companies. If you're not insurance licensed, then you're going to have a relationship with someone who is licensed. Indeed, as we run through the competency profile, we're going to head into estate planning. Financial planner may be an estate specialist. They may also have the designation of STEP, which is the Society of Trust and Estate Planners. These are specialists in estates, estate specialists. If you're not an estate specialist, maybe you need to be collaborating with one. Also, on that same vein, you may have a client that's selling a business, and you're going to help with the business valuation or bring in a certified business valuator, perhaps a tax accountant, a lawyer, mortgage specialist, and bank account manager. And indeed, perhaps you're active in your community at certain different levels. Anyhow, so again, this is all talking about teamwork and collaboration with different functional experts. And again, teamwork and collaboration is some of the skills, professional skills required by a certified financial planner. And we have an entire video dedicated to the professional skills. And it comes in, you can see it's coming back in here full circle. Why is this skill of teamwork and collaboration so important? Because you can see the financial planner is playing a central role, when we're looking at integrated financial planning, dealing with so many different experts, or indeed being an expert in some of these areas themselves. Okay, so you can see, just want to go back and review the teamwork and collaboration skills. Professional skill 401 works with clients to establish clear planner-client roles and responsibilities and empowers clients to manage their finances. 402 is recognizing when to involve clients' family and or business partners. 403 is recognizes when to refer to qualified professionals to provide necessary expertise. So the topic for today's video is insurance, and you either have the necessary expertise. If not, you need to refer to a qualified professional, and then once you've done that, you need to work with other professionals as appropriate to help implement the financial plan. And finally, professional skill 405 is coordinates and manages client interactions with other qualified professionals as needed. So indeed, we're talking about insurance in this video, but as this slide was showing you, you might need to coordinate and manage client interactions with other qualified professionals as needed, for example, with a lawyer or a certified business valuator or a tax accountant or an estate specialist, etc. So again, really the intention of these videos is giving an introduction to the frameworks and processes. So the framework is the professional competency profile, where we've got the 6 competency areas of number 1, financial management, number 2, investment planning, and the topic for this video, insurance and risk management. Okay, and then of course we move into tax management, and then there's retirement planning, and finally estate management. And that makes up the 6 professional competency profiles. So that's the framework in terms of the competency profile. And the process is going through the collection of quantitative and qualitative information, and then assessing the client situation and considering and evaluating strategies, and then finally developing that into a recommendation. So we have collection, analysis, and recommendation is the 3 stages, and that's the process. So the framework is the competency profile, and the process is going through the 3 stages. Okay, so again, I have it here for insurance management. It's quite small to read, so I like to remind students again, where did we get this chart from? So here I am at the website for FP Canada, www.fpcanada.ca. Very many good resources you can get from this website. And again, if we kind of scroll down on the front homepage, on the bottom left-hand side here, we have competency profile. You can see that there's one that's in effect until December 31st, 2019. So most of my students are going to be, of course, affected by this competency profile. And then you've got the full document, or download the graphic overview. And indeed, that is what I'm using in the slides. There was the collection, analysis, recommendation. You can see I include that in my, and then we're getting into the financial planning functions, the elements of the competency in the financial planning areas. You can see there's 3 on the first page, and there's the 3 on the second, and there's the professional skills that we've been talking about, so maybe it's a good time just to quickly review. There's critical thinking skills, interpersonal and relationship skills, communication skills, and teamwork and collaboration skills. Okay, and this is what we're talking about. If you're not an expert in insurance, you're not licensed in insurance, you're going to need some teamwork and collaboration skills where you work with other professionals as appropriate to help implement the financial plan, and you coordinate and manage client interaction with other qualified professionals as needed. Okay, hopefully one of the things that you're starting to figure out is that there's a lot of data, when it comes to financial planning. You've got the 6 financial planning components: financial management, investment planning, insurance and risk management, the topic for this video today, retirement planning, tax planning, and estate planning. And for each of those 6 areas, you've got the process of collecting data, quantitative and qualitative, the analysis, assessing the client's situation and considering and evaluating the strategies, and then the recommendation. And indeed, there's many more sub-elements. It adds up to something like close to 120 elements. So instead of just trying to memorize those lists with the tables and the columns, one of the things that I did is I created this mind map using the free Google software MindMap, and I kind of copy and pasted from the competency profile just into a different format to give me a visual. So it means that I've worked with the material. And it's kind of a technique that I use, not to memorize, but to really understand what's going on here. So when we're looking at insurance management or any of the areas, go through the collection stage, the analysis, and the recommendation, and it's all ultimately ending up in the integrated financial plan. So getting back to the collection, that's really split up into 2 areas: gathering the quantitative information and gathering the qualitative information. So when we look at insurance and risk management in terms of the collection of the quantitative information, what exactly are we talking about? Collect details of the client's existing insurance coverage. Number 2, prepare a detailed summary of existing insurance coverage. Number 3, determines resources available to manage risk. And finally, the 4th element for gathering quantitative information is identifies current and potential future financial obligations. Moving down to gathering qualitative information, there are 3 elements. The first being determines client's risk management, experience, attitudes, biases, and objectives. Number 2 is determines the relevant lifestyle factors, and that's qualitative information, information about how the client likes to live their life, and determining the client's personal and family health history. Moving on to the analysis, if we expand that subtree, we can see there's the 2 pieces of assessing the client's situation and then moving on to identify and evaluate the strategies. So in terms of assessing the client's situation, again, 3 elements: determines the characteristics of the existing insurance coverage, calculates financial impact of exposure to risk, assesses risk exposure against existing risk management strategies. Then we move down to the second part of the analysis where we identify and evaluate strategies. And for insurance and risk management, there are 4 elements: considers potential risk management strategies, assesses the impact of changes to insurance coverage, evaluates advantages and disadvantages of each risk management strategy, and finally, prioritizes the client's risk management needs. So after doing the collection and analysis and all those steps and all those elements, we're finally getting down to the recommendation. And you can see there's 3 key elements here: formulates risk management strategies, recommends optimal risk management strategies, and finally prioritizes the steps to assist the client in implementing the risk management recommendations. And that's the key thing. If the financial planner is insurance licensed, they can assist the client directly in implementing risk management recommendations. If they are not licensed, then they're going to have to coordinate with a licensed professional using those teamwork and collaboration skills. And that is the conclusion for this video that was looking at the financial planning area of insurance and risk management and looking at the framework and processes, framework being the competency profile, process, data, collection, analysis, and ultimately recommendations that are going into a integrated financial plan. And that's what this series is all about, the different areas that get integrated into a financial plan. Thank you. Thank you very much.